What does it mean to pay for love with blood? Among the Dinka of South Sudan, a bride is not just married. She is earned through rituals soaked in history, honor, cattle, and sometimes even conflict. In this cinematic documentary-style script, we'll travel deep into the Dinka culture to uncover the beauty, pain, pride, and paradox of the bride price system. It's more than tradition. It's a worldview where cows are currency and love has a cost counted in lives. In a world obsessed with weddings, dresses, and diamond rings, what if I told you there's a place where love has a price, measured not in dollars but in cows, honor, and sometimes blood? This is South Sudan, vast, scarred, and beautiful. And this is the story of the Dinka, a proud, resilient people whose lives revolve around a deeply sacred and sometimes deadly tradition, the bride price. Everywhere else, marriage may be a celebration. Here, it's a transaction of staggering value, a ritual of status and sacrifice. A man doesn't simply marry, he earns the right through herds of cattle, endless negotiations, and sometimes by spilling blood. This isn't just a tradition, it's a way of life. The cows are not just animals, they are currency, ancestors, prayers, and power. And the bride, she is the axis around which clans move. Debts are settled and wars begin. Why is a Dinka marriage so expensive? What makes a cow worth more than cash? And how can something so sacred carry the weight of so much violence? In this film, we'll uncover a mystery wrapped in hide and horn. We'll step inside a culture where the bride price is not just symbolic, it's systemic. We'll meet men who spend years acquiring cattle just for the right to propose, women who become the centerpieces of village alliances, and elders who decide the fate of families with a single nod. We'll go deeper into the ancient relationship between humans and cattle, into a spiritual economy where each cow given seals a promise to ancestors and community alike, into the haunting stories where unpaid bride prices led to tribal clashes and death. But there is more than ritual and tradition here. There is heartbreak, there is pride, there is conflict between generations, between fathers who demand the old ways and daughters who dream of futures beyond cattle markets and dowries. There are voices rising from the dust, questioning why love must come with a ledger. And yet, there are also those who fight to preserve it, who see bride price not as oppression, but as honor. We'll hear from those who've paid the price, both literally and emotionally, from warriors who rode into raids to retrieve cattle stolen in vengeance, from mothers who wept as their daughters were sent to men they barely knew, and from youth who wonder if they can write a new story without breaking the old one. This isn't just about cattle and conflict, it's about identity. It's about what we inherit, what we carry, and what we choose to leave behind. It's about how ancient systems survive in the modern world, and what they cost the people who live within them. And perhaps most hauntingly, it's about how love can be weighed, measured, and even weaponized when the bride is both a blessing and a battleground. For outsiders, it may seem cruel, but for the Dinka, this is legacy, this is life, and every cow tells a story. Each hoofbeat echoes an oath. Every exchange of cattle binds generations together in a chain that stretches across centuries. The echoes of this practice reach far beyond the villages. They shape laws, politics, and even peace treaties. They mold how men become warriors and how women navigate their destinies. The bride price of the Dinka is as old as memory, as contested as land, as powerful as faith, and you're about to find out why. Because when love is bought with cows, and the bride is the most valuable possession a family has, the question isn't just how much does she cost, but who pays the price? Stay with us. This story matters. To understand the bride price among the Dinka, we must first understand the Dinka themselves. They are one of the largest ethnic groups in South Sudan, scattered across the Nile Basin and the grasslands of Bahr el Ghazal and Upper Nile. Their lives are shaped by the rhythm of the seasons, the grazing of their cattle, and a relationship with land that is both spiritual and strategic. They are cattle herders first, everything else second. In Dinka cosmology, cattle are not just livestock. They are sacred companions, living symbols of wealth, honor, and continuity. From birth to death, cattle accompany every major milestone. When a child is born, cattle are slaughtered in celebration. When someone dies, they are honored with cattle offerings to ancestors. Even names are taken from favorite oxen. A boy might be called Maber, meaning white bull, reflecting pride in his animal companion. To be poor in cattle is to be poor in status, marriage prospects, and even identity. A man without cattle is not considered truly mature or independent. He cannot marry, lead, or earn respect in his community. Women, too, grow up measuring the world in cattle. Their beauty, fertility, and virtue, often linked, rightly or wrongly, to how many cows they will one day bring. Cattle are the economic engine of Dinka life. They serve as bank accounts, dowries, and bargaining chips. They are traded in bride prices, blood compensations, and political deals. Owning a large herd is the dream of every man, a sign that he has succeeded in the eyes of both his peers and his ancestors. And yet, this obsession with cattle comes with costs. Grazing lands are fiercely contested. Droughts can devastate herds and trigger migration, leading to tension with neighboring tribes. Conflicts over watering holes, pasture rights, and cattle raids have shaped the geopolitics of the region for centuries. Still, the Dinka remain fiercely loyal to their traditions. Boys are initiated into adulthood through cattle rituals. Young men compose poetic songs to their oxen. Even in refugee camps or urban slums, displaced Dinka speak lovingly of the herds they left behind. It is more than nostalgia, it is cultural survival. The Dinka language reflects this too. It has dozens of words for cattle based on color, horn shape, and behavior. Songs are sung to cattle. Prayers are whispered over their backs. Rituals mark their births and deaths. In their world, a cow is not just a cow. It's a totem, a relic, a living spirit. And all of this feeds directly into the concept of bride price. Because in a society where cattle are everything, love must be negotiated in hooves and hides. A man doesn't propose with a ring. He begins acquiring cows years in advance. He counts them, fattens them, breeds them. He visits uncles and cousins, asking for contributions. The bride price can be as high as 100 cows, depending on the woman's beauty, family status, and clan prestige. For the bride's family, receiving this wealth is more than transaction. It's transformation. It secures alliances, strengthens lineage, and boosts prestige. But it also places a heavy burden on both families, tying them together in a lifelong relationship of debt, expectation, and honor. To outsiders, it may seem transactional, even dehumanizing, but within the Dinka worldview, it is a ceremony of deep respect. The cows given are not payment for the bride. They are a gift to her lineage, a declaration of the groom's readiness to join, protect, and honor her bloodline. This is the foundation, the beating heart beneath the tradition. Cattle are not just part of the bride price. They are the bride price. And until we understand their role, we can't understand the full weight or the beauty of what follows. During dry season migrations, entire families will move with their herds, sleeping under open skies and guarding their cattle from thieves and wild animals. Children are raised to know each cow by name, by personality, and by history. It's said that a man may forget the faces of his relatives, but never the markings of his favorite bull. The cattle camps, called Wut, are more than grazing grounds. They are cultural universities. Young boys learn songs, history, and how to become men. It is in these camps that friendships are forged, disputes settled, and destinies shaped. Sitting around fires, boys share tales of their lineage, recite cattle poetry, and dream aloud of the women they will one day win through cows. And here lies the contradiction. In this world where cows mean everything, losing them means more than economic hardship. It can mean humiliation, broken marriages, or even tribal war. A stolen herd can unravel peace between clans. A failed bride price negotiation can rupture relations and spark bloodshed. That is the gravity cattle carry. Yet the Dinka remain steadfast. Through war, famine, displacement, they carry their cattle culture like a torch. And as long as a cow breathes in the grasslands of South Sudan, so too will the story of the bride price live on. To truly grasp the magnitude of the bride price in Dinka culture, we must move beyond the Western notion of dowries and wedding gifts. The bride price among the Dinka is not a mere formality. It is the cornerstone of marriage, kinship, and power. It begins with a courtship, often traditional and guided by the extended family. A young man interested in marriage consults his elders, who reach out to the girl's family to express intent. This is not a casual affair. It is a diplomatic mission. Respectful tone, ceremonial greetings, and intermediary negotiations all mark the seriousness of the act. Once both families agree in principle, discussions about the bride price commence. And here, the cattle take center stage. The number of cows expected depends on several factors: the woman's beauty, her family's status, her father's reputation, and even her maternal lineage influence the final count. A common bride price might range between 30 to 50 cows, but for women from powerful or wealthy clans, the price can reach upwards of 100 cows, plus additional gifts of goats, sheep, and even cash. Each cow is inspected. They are not just numbers. They must meet specific criteria: size, color, horn shape, and age. Sacred white bulls are especially prized, as they are believed to carry spiritual significance. The giving of cattle is ceremonial. Each animal passed over is accompanied by blessings, songs, and ritual. But bride price isn't paid in one transaction. It's often fulfilled in phases: initial cows during the engagement, others at the wedding, and the rest over time. This installment system ensures long-term bonds between families. If a man defaults, his relatives may intervene or suffer collective shame. Bride price is not simply about acquiring a wife. It is about entering a contract with her family, a pact of protection, loyalty, and shared destiny. The cattle received are distributed among the bride's extended family, uncles, cousins, brothers, ensuring that many benefit from her union. This distribution system reinforces kinship networks and political alliances, and for the bride herself, her value is affirmed through this process. A high bride price elevates her status, affirms her worth, and often gives her leverage in her new household. She enters marriage not as a gift, but as a treasure her family would only part with for something equally valuable. Critics often argue this system commodifies women, but among the Dinka it is seen as the opposite. It's a declaration that she is irreplaceable, that no price is too high for her. It's her lineage being honored, not her being sold. Yet there is complexity. The high cost of bride price means some men wait years to marry. Others raid neighboring clans to amass herds, fueling cycles of violence. Young lovers may elope, unable to afford the negotiations. These social pressures stretch the tradition thin, exposing its fragility in a modernizing world. And still, families uphold it. To skip the bride price is to skip legitimacy. Children born of such unions may be considered illegitimate. The woman's family may demand compensation later, or the couple may face social exclusion. That's how deep the custom runs. In a region where law is often tribal and justice communal, bride price serves as a binding legal and spiritual agreement. If a man mistreats his wife, her family can demand her return and reclaim the cows. If she dies under mysterious circumstances, restitution may be demanded or blood spilled in revenge. Bride price doesn't end with marriage, it echoes through life. A man's reputation, his standing in the community, and his ability to negotiate future alliances are all shaped by how he handled the bride price. Was he generous? Was he fair? Did he honor the ancestors and uphold tradition? And for the woman, too, the cows continue to speak. Her in-laws may treat her better if her bride price was high. Her children may inherit her prestige. She walks with an invisible herd behind her, each hoofprint a reminder of her worth. Even after marriage, the bride price creates ongoing ties. If the woman experiences mistreatment or abuse, her family has the right, morally and sometimes physically, to intervene. If she dies, a portion of the cows may be returned as a form of closure. And if the couple divorces, the cattle can become a contested memory, with both sides debating their symbolic and literal value. These aren't just cows, they are witnesses, carriers of history, and each one tells the community that a bond has been made, a responsibility has been accepted, and a future has been promised. This isn't just a system, it's a language of respect, status, diplomacy, and love. Every cow tells a story. Every exchange is a thread in a social fabric that binds not just individuals, but entire communities together. This is what bride price means among the Dinka. A ritual of recognition, a contract of care, a system of sacrifice, and above all, a living tradition that defines who they are and who they love. When cows become currency and love becomes debt, conflict is never far behind. Among the Dinka, the bride price is not merely symbolic, it's a tangible transfer of wealth. And like all wealth, it can become the seed of envy, rivalry, and war. For centuries, the vast plains of South Sudan have been arenas of cattle raids. Young men driven by the pressure to marry, the need to prove masculinity, or simply the thrill of status, organize raids on neighboring clans to steal cows. These raids are not minor scuffles. They are often militarized, involving guns, strategies, and casualties. In some areas, entire generations have grown up learning to raid before they've learned to read. A successful raid can mean a man becomes eligible for marriage. A failed raid can mean death, or worse, retaliation that triggers a cycle of blood feud that lasts decades. Bride price fuels these raids, with demands as high as 100 cows for a prestigious bride and limited access to legitimate cattle through inheritance or trade. Young men turn to force. Cattle become spoils of love and survival. What should have been a symbol of unity becomes a weapon of division, and the consequences ripple through the land. Clans torn apart, children orphaned, women widowed, entire villages displaced by raids that began as attempts to gather enough cows for a marriage. The cattle camps, once places of song and youth bonding, now double as war camps, guarded by boys who should be in school but instead patrol the night with AK-47s. In some tragic cases, brides have been abducted, taken forcibly to avoid bride price payments. These acts are condemned by traditional leaders, but they still occur, especially in lawless or remote regions. For the women involved, these aren't just broken customs, they are broken lives. Marriages forged in violence echo with trauma and silence. When a bride price goes unpaid, the conflict isn't just emotional, it's often physical. Disputes escalate. Families accuse each other of disrespect, of deception, of greed. Cattle are seized in revenge. Sometimes blood is demanded to settle what cattle could not. And when a woman dies, intentionally or otherwise, Under unclear circumstances, bride price becomes a legal fault line. Her family may accuse her husband of wrongdoing, and if the truth is obscured, justice is taken not in courts but in raids. Blood for blood, cow for cow. Even peace deals between clans often involve bride price settlements. After a conflict, an apology may involve not just words, but a procession of cows. Diplomacy on the grasslands is written in hoofprints. The pressure on young men to deliver bride price has also fueled tensions within families. Fathers who hoard cattle for their own status may leave sons without herds. Brothers may clash over inheritance. And the rising costs of bride price mean that even small disputes over livestock can explode into inter-clan warfare. This is where tradition and violence intersect. In the past, raids were regulated by strict codes of honor. No killing, no raiding during harvest. Elders mediated disputes quickly, but with the proliferation of firearms and the breakdown of customary law, during civil wars, those codes have eroded. What was once ritualized has become unpredictable and bloody. Non-governmental organizations and peace organizations have tried to intervene. Some promote alternative rites of passage. Others offer economic programs to reduce cattle dependency. But the emotional and cultural weight of bride price is hard to dislodge. It is not just a transaction. It's a badge of identity and for some a reason to fight. And the women? They are the ones who bear the deepest scars. They are bartered over, abducted and mourned. Their bodies become battlegrounds for the honor of clans. And yet, many still defend the tradition, because without it they fear losing not just status, but safety. A marriage without bride price can leave a woman vulnerable, unprotected by her husband's family, unanchored in society. So the paradox deepens. A system meant to honor love and lineage becomes the root of violence. A ritual of unity becomes a spark for division. And through it all, the cows continue to move, driven, stolen, traded, fought over. Their hoofprints mark the path of every union, every feud, every life lost to the price of marriage. This is the dark side of the bride price, a tale of blood and debt, of tradition and trauma, one that shows us that even the most sacred customs can cast dangerous shadows, especially when the price of love becomes too high. In the end, the bride price among the Dinka is more than tradition. It's a thread that binds together love, violence, economy, and justice. It defines roles and rights, births and bloodshed. And until it is understood not just as culture but as power, its consequences will remain deeply rooted, beautiful, brutal, and heartbreakingly complex. It endures. In the bride price system, the woman stands at the center, but not always in control. Among the Dinka, a woman's value is immense. She is the reason her family can expand its influence, receive wealth, and build new alliances. Her body carries the weight of expectation, tradition, and often silence. Yet within this deeply patriarchal structure, women carve out spaces of agency that defy simple narratives. From a young age, Dinka girls are taught the importance of marriage, not just as a romantic aspiration, but as a communal responsibility. A good marriage uplifts not only the woman, but her entire clan. Her education may be halted to prepare her for this role, her movements monitored, her behavior scrutinized, not by law, but by custom. Still, many Dinka women view the bride price not as a burden, but as validation. A high bride price is a mark of honor. It signals her desirability, her family's status, and her own worth in the social hierarchy. It can offer her some leverage in her husband's home, respect that is tied to the investment made for her hand. And yet, that same tradition can limit her choices. In communities where bride price is rigidly enforced, love often comes second to economics. A woman may be promised to a man she barely knows. Her refusal may be dismissed, especially if cattle have already changed hands. Elopement is rare and risky. A woman who runs from marriage may shame her family, triggering demands for repayment or retribution. Stories abound of girls married off as teenagers, traded for cows that keep a family afloat. In drought or conflict, the pressure to marry off daughters intensifies. The cows they bring can save lives, or buy guns. And when a marriage breaks down, the woman faces complex choices. If she leaves her husband, her family may be forced to return the bride price. This debt discourages divorce, even in abusive relationships. Some women endure suffering in silence, fearing the burden their exit might place on loved ones. But this is not a tale of passive victims. Across South Sudan, Dinka women are pushing back through education, activism, and quiet resistance. Some reject early marriage and pursue schooling, hoping to redefine their worth beyond cattle counts. Others challenge the practice from within, urging elders to reduce bride price demands or advocating for girls to have a say in their marriages. Organizations led by Dinka women are emerging, teaching girls about rights, choices, and empowerment. In church gatherings, school halls, and market stalls, they are reshaping the conversation, turning the question from "how many cows is she worth" to "what does she want for her life?" There are also women who embrace the tradition but reshape its meaning. They see the bride price not as sale but as ceremony, not as submission but as legacy. These women walk with pride, knowing they are the link between past and future, that they carry stories, bloodlines, and the strength of generations on their shoulders. This duality is the heart of the Dinka woman's experience, both revered and restricted, both empowered and constrained. And within this tension lies a quiet revolution, one that doesn't reject culture but insists it listen more carefully to the voices of its daughters. These shifts are slow and the path is far from easy. There are setbacks, cultural pushbacks, and tensions between elders and youth. But the movement is real. Dinka women are not just symbols of tradition. They are architects of change, carving out a future where their voices shape the customs that once defined them in silence, and their stories are only just beginning to be heard. To the outsider, a Dinka bride price may look purely transactional. A man gives cows, receives a wife. But beneath the surface lies a rich spiritual and symbolic world where every hoofbeat echoes with meaning. Among the Dinka, cattle are not just animals, they are sacred vessels. They carry ancestral blessings. They embody spiritual purity. They are the language through which the living commune with the dead. When cows are offered as bride price, it is not just a material exchange, it is a cosmic alignment. The transfer of cattle symbolizes the merging of two lineages, not only in this life, but in the afterlife. The ancestors of both families are believed to witness and bless the union. If the bride price is incomplete or improperly done, misfortunes may follow, not as coincidence but as ancestral disapproval. Every part of the ritual is deliberate. Before cows are handed over, elders from both sides invoke the spirits of their forefathers. Prayers are chanted, libations poured. In some communities, sacred cows are marked or decorated, symbolizing their spiritual purpose. The ceremony becomes a communion, a binding of bloodlines beyond the physical. This spiritual lens changes how the Dinka perceive the entire process of marriage. A bride is not leaving one family for another, she is bridging them. She becomes the carrier of ancestral harmony, the vessel through which lineage is preserved and multiplied. Her body becomes sacred space, her children the continuation of a divine line. And the cattle, they are not just exchanged, they are watched, honored, and protected. Specific cows may never be slaughtered, they are kept as living symbols of the marriage contract. Others are sacrificed during key family rituals, births, deaths, and initiations. Their blood, bones, and hides carry stories. Even disputes over bride price are spiritual matters. A delay in payment may be interpreted as a disturbance in cosmic balance. If a woman is mistreated in her marriage, her suffering may be seen not just as social failure but as spiritual violation, requiring ceremonial reconciliation. Among the Dinka, symbolism saturates every detail. The color of the cows has meaning. White for peace, black for strength, brown for continuity. The number matters too. Certain counts are considered auspicious, while others are avoided. These symbolic codes are known by elders, whispered between generations, and honored in silence. The connection to nature is deep. Cows graze under the same sun that watched over the ancestors. They drink from rivers believed to be spiritual pathways. When a cow bellows, it is said the spirits listen. When a calf is born, the family celebrates not just new life, but renewed blessing. And what of the bride herself? She too is spiritualized. Adorned in beads and traditional jewelry, she is transformed into a sacred figure during the wedding rites. Her movement, her speech, even her gaze is guided by custom. Each step choreographed to honor both her living and ancestral family. As the bride price is paid, the air is thick with incense, song, and symbolism. There is laughter and celebration, but also solemnity. The act connects generations, sanctifies love, and marks the moment when two souls and two histories become forever entwined. In this sacred context, bride price becomes more than economics or culture. It becomes a prayer, a promise, a pathway. And through this ancient ritual, the Dinka remind the world that love, at its most profound, is not just between people, but between the living, the dead, and all that binds them. It is this belief that every gesture, gift, and cow carries divine resonance that elevates bride price into sacrament. It is not simply a ritual, it is the heartbeat of the Dinka soul. In a land steeped in ancient customs, change is not swift, but it is inevitable. Among the Dinka, the bride price remains a pillar of cultural identity, yet today that pillar is being tested by winds of education, urbanization, war, and modernity. The tradition is not disappearing, but it is evolving. Young Dinka people growing up in cities like Juba or Nairobi are increasingly exposed to global ideas. They attend schools, watch television, use social media. They see relationships based on love, not livestock. They hear stories of women choosing their partners, of marriages without bride price. And for many, it sparks questions. Why must love be measured in cows? Why should a woman's value be counted in animals? Why should families be torn apart by a tradition meant to unite? And yet, those same youth are caught in a web of loyalty, to family, to elders, to identity. A young man may question the bride price but still feel compelled to honor it. A young woman may want choice but fear the stigma of breaking tradition. This is the crossroads of culture and progress. In urban areas, the bride price has adapted. Cattle may still be requested, but cash payments or symbolic gestures often replace them. Negotiations are shorter, more flexible. Some couples reach private agreements, bypassing extended family entirely. Others simplify the ritual, keeping only its spiritual core. But in rural areas, the full weight of the bride price remains. There, elders hold sway. Custom is king, and resistance is rare. Still, whispers of change are growing louder. NGOs and women's groups are leading workshops on rights, consent, and marriage. Churches preach sermons urging moderation in bride price demands. School teachers encourage girls to dream beyond domestic roles. These efforts do not always aim to abolish the tradition, but to humanize it, to make room for love, agency, and dignity within it. Even among elders, some are recognizing the need for adaptation. Skyrocketing bride price demands have sparked concern. Stories of families falling into debt or resorting to cattle raids disturb the social peace. Elders have begun to moderate expectations, to emphasize the spiritual and communal aspects over material excess. And in times of war or famine, the bride price often bends. Families negotiate symbolic exchanges. They prioritize unity over wealth. Tradition proves flexible, not rigid, resilient, not brittle. This evolution is not without backlash. Some see it as erosion of values, as surrender to Western influence. They worry that abandoning bride price means abandoning the Dinka way of life, that without it, marriages will lose their sacredness, women their honor, families their bonds. But others see opportunity, a chance to redefine worth without losing roots, a path to protect culture while promoting justice, a way to preserve tradition, but not at the cost of people's well-being. The future of bride price among the Dinka is unwritten. It will not be decided in a single village, sermon, or law. It will unfold in thousands of conversations, between mothers and daughters, between lovers, between generations, and perhaps in the quiet courage of a young girl who dares to ask, "Can I choose my husband?" or in the silent agreement of an elder who nods and lets her. Change for the Dinka is not a rejection of tradition. It is a dialogue with it, a reweaving of old threads into new patterns, a belief that the sacred can still evolve, and that a people as resilient as theirs can honor the past while stepping bravely into the future. This is not the end of the tradition. It is the beginning of its next chapter, a chapter rooted in dignity and hope. The bride price of the Dinka is not just a tradition, it is a lens, a way of seeing love, lineage, loyalty, and loss. It tells us that marriage joins not just two people, but two lineages and ancestral ties. It shows us a world where cows speak louder than rings, and rituals carry the weight of generations. But it also reveals the tension between heritage and hope, between what must be preserved and what must be reimagined. It asks difficult questions. What is a woman's worth? Can a custom be both sacred and harmful? And how do we honor culture while still protecting those within it? The Dinka bride price system is not easily defined. It is both beautiful and brutal. It binds and it breaks. It uplifts and it oppresses. But above all, it endures. Perhaps that is the greatest truth of all, that even in a changing world, some customs bend without breaking. That tradition, when examined with courage and compassion, can evolve. And so we ask again, not just how much does she cost, but who pays the price? If this story moved you, like the video, share it, and subscribe for more powerful stories from the world's hidden cultures.
Shadows cast through every loss. The bonds hold fast. Firelight dances in the eye. Truths are told where spirits lie. Oh, echoes of the Nile. They call through the dust. The drum beats fall. Love and land, we give it all. White scars of battles past, horns of pride, shadows cast through every loss. The bonds hold fast. Firelight dances in